Hey everyone, Blugoblin here. Thank you for joining me here for my comic book review for this week of December 2014. I apologize for being so late. Just been busy, been busting my hump at work, been putting in some overtime, and I finally found the time to finish reading these books and get them reviewed. So we got two indies and the rest are from the big two from Marvel and DC. We're going to start off with Boom Studios. We're going to start with Boom Studios. We're going to start with George Perez's Sirens, number 2. Number 2 of 6. Look, George Perez is not only one of my favorite artists, he's one of my heroes. I mean, he's one of the people that got me into comic books when I was a child. Him and Marv Wolfman's New Teen Titans was the first comic book series I ever read. That series got me into comic books. So for that, I thank both Wolfman and especially Perez for that. And Perez's artwork is still really, really good in this book. However, the writing is not really that strong. This felt like an episode of Star Trek with both action and very heavy on exposition. We're still getting to know some of these characters. We're still, I still felt like I was being introduced to some of these characters. That's what a first issue is mainly for. Get us introduced to every character you possibly can. And then the second issue, we get introduced to the characters we didn't know anything about yet. So that's what this felt like to me. The action in here was decent. The storytelling in here is a bit heavy on the dialogue, but it's easy to keep, but it doesn't lose me. It kept my attention. I liked how some of these characters are developed, the way their attitudes are, the way they interact with each other, especially when they're on the brink of doom and everything. I like how they're able to time warp, they're able to, reverse time and stop things from happening and everything. This was a nice book. This was a nice read, not too bad. In all fairness and in all honesty, the artwork is much better than the writing is, but it's not a bad book. I'd still say give this a look. Who knows? You might enjoy it for what it is. I'd give it a 3.5. Moving on to, oh boy, IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 41. Oh man, this was really good. This was really, really good. What I really liked about this is that after the monumental issue 40 that we got previously with Bebop and Rocksteady, here we take the action, we tone it down a little bit and get caught up on storytelling. Where's the long-term storytelling gonna lead into? This is basically used for build-up. We're building up to a monumental moment involving the Krang, involving an all-out war between the Turtles, the Foot Clan, and the Utroms, and everything. Building every individual group up. We got something going on with the Turtles, we got something going on with the Foot Clan, and we got something going on with Krang and his army. Everything's being slowly put together, being slowly built up, and it's gonna lead us into one ginormous battle. I'm ready for it. This was really masterfully done in terms of using the storytelling to build this stuff up. The stuff with Donatello just blew me away. Wow, I dare not spoil what it is that he does in this, but goddamn, where are you going with this, Eastman? Where are you going with this, Waltz? I gotta fucking know, and I can't wait to see where that particular part of the storyline alone is going. The stuff going on with the Turtles is very well done. And the stuff going on with Krang is really well done, especially when it leads up to that enormous cliffhanger at the end of the book. This was incredible. Was it as good as issue 40 was? No. But it's because it doesn't match the action that number 40 had. But this was a masterful job in terms of writing. The writing was solid, and I give it a 4. Alright, moving on to DC. We're starting DC off with Batgirl number 37. I promised myself that I would stick with this series until issue 40. This series has until issue 40 to keep my interest. If by then I continually get disappointed, I'm done. However, with that being said, I did not hate this issue. I really didn't. Was it great? Hell no. No, it was not great. I would say this was, at best, pretty good. The artwork still does not impress me. I still feel like this is just heavily girly. You don't need to make Batman a girly book just because she's Batgirl. A truly great character can appeal to every demographic you sell your product to. That's why Gail Simone was so good. She could sell her shit to any person, whether despite their fucking gender. This was pretty good at best. You got an imposter Batgirl running around trying to damage Barbara's reputation. And of course, Barbara uses her detective skills to figure out who it is, and when you get the big reveal. And a lot of people, this issue's gotten mixed reactions on the internet. A lot of people thought it was a pretty clever twist. A lot of people thought it was done for deliberate humor. Some people thought it was fucking insulting to the character. And it's like, I tend to agree with the people who... I sort of agree with the people who say it was done as a deliberate joke, because that's... When I saw the big reveal of who this imposter Batgirl was, I was like, huh. But I didn't laugh. It wasn't bad. The one thing I'm really hating about this series right now is how the writers are writing Dinah, Black Canary. Why is Black Canary such a bitch? She has just become this vindictive, grudge-holding bitch. And I don't like it. Other than that, the rest of this was just, it was pretty good at best. I'll be nice and give it a 3. We're going to go to Green Lantern Corps number 37. This is the next part of Godhead. Act 3, part 2, what the fuck ever. I don't care anymore. I'm just calling it the next part of Godhead. I'm getting carried away with this. Act 3, part 2. Act 3, part 4. We're going to go to Act 4, part 7. It's like, who fucking cares? It's the next part of Godhead. In this issue, long story short, Jon Stewart grows some nuts. It's all you need to know. This was good. Nicely told. Good action. I give it a solid... wouldn't give it a 4. I'll give it a 3.5. But that's all I'm going to say about it. Jon Stewart grew his nuts back. There you go. Ending DC with the Harley Quinn Holiday Special. Number 1. This one shot here. Oh, wow. This was fun. This was really fun. Was this worth $5? Barely. Because the other two stories in here were but the main story with Harley Quinn and the little girl was fucking hilarious. I loved it. Just really good stuff. This actually felt like an honest-to-God holiday special. And at the end of the first story, of course, Poison Ivy welcomes Harley home by standing under mistletoe. Just, DC, what the fuck? Just go ahead. Go ahead and acknowledge that Harley and Ivy are indeed lovers. Just go ahead and say it. I mean, you're implying it more now than ever before. Just go ahead and just come out and say it. Who the fuck cares now? Just go ahead and say it. But this little girl in this book was so fucking hilarious. I just got a laugh out of the whole thing. She's just like a fucking demon child. And it's, of course, Harley and her click right away. But there's also a moment in here where Harley displays her psychiatric talents. She's actually able to talk to this girl and get an idea of what's bugging her so much. That was a nice touch. This was an awesome read. I'm going to be super sweet to this book because it made me feel good. It made me feel good, and I'd give it a 4. Alright, we're moving on to Marvel. We got a lot of spiders to talk about. We're going to start with The Amazing Spider-Man at number 11, or if you're keeping score, number 711. This is issue 711 of Amazing Spider-Man, part 3 of Spider-Verse. This is something I was looking forward to when I knew that Superior Spider-Man was going to be a part of this storyline. You knew it was coming. Peter versus Ock one more time, but this time Peter finds a way to win, and he does it with his mind, not with his fists. And that's the way Peter Parker should win a fight against a guy like Doc Ock, who's the more superior mind, and I thought Peter did a good job on displaying that he might indeed have the better mind, despite what Otto Octavius thinks about himself. But as far as this issue goes, Peter sends off some more teams of spiders to track down other spiders to the safe hold in Earth 13. However, they find out that Earth 13, where they called their safe house, is not completely as safe as they think it is. It gets infiltrated by the inheritors, by Morland's family, by the Big Daddy himself. And minor spoiler here, there is another casualty in this issue, and it's a big one. It is a big casualty. And the cliffhanger at the end of the fucking book, oh, wow. I can't say anymore. This was really good. Dan Slott, you impressed me with this one. Good job. This was good. Fucking loved it. I give it a 4. Alright, moving on to the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1. This is like the 3rd or 4th number 1 annual from Amazing Spider-Man. They've renumbered the annuals so damn much, I don't even remember what actual annual we're fucking on. This was alright. Was this worth $5 to me? No. This would have been fine as a $4 book. It's because it's an annual. It's got to be $5. That's like a prerequisite for an annual in comic books nowadays. It's an annual, $5. Well, how good's the story? Who cares? $5. $5. It's an annual, $5. So Marvel got $5 from me for this, and it wasn't bad. I just, I'm glad it didn't tie into Spider-Verse. I'm really glad it didn't, because we've got enough. We've got enough tie-ins. We don't need fucking annuals to tie into the storyline. So I'm glad we didn't get that. In here, this was just meant to be a one-and-done fun read for Amazing Spider-Man readers. The Amazing Spider-Ant shit in the middle of the book, fuck it, I don't care. The first story with Peter and the cell phone, that was good. I liked that. The last story had a hilarious twist at the end. Spider-Man's fighting off a bunch of crooks, a bunch of C-level crooks, and he's not quipping, he's not cutting jokes. And they want to know why. You find out why. Hilarious. Just good. This was a fun read. This was meant to be fun. This was done to be fun on purpose. But it was good for what it was. I just don't think I would have put a $5 price tag on it myself. So for that, I give it a 3.5. Thought it was good for what it was. Moving on to Amazing X-Men number 14. This is a tie into Axis. Whoa. Okay, now we're getting somewhere with this Axis stuff, with the heroes acting like villains and the villains trying to be good, decent people. In here, this is when I first heard about this whole mind flip. You got heroes acting maniacal, you got villains acting decent. This was something I wanted to see. Nightcrawler and Mystique flipped. Nightcrawler's the asshole. Mystique is the clear-headed, kind-hearted one. Wow, what a role reversal! I mean, this felt like exactly the opposite of what their relationship has always been like. And man, was it intriguing. Man, was it a good read. Incredible. Was it perfect? No. But man, this was something I personally wanted to see, and now that I've seen it, I'm happy that I did. This was good. I'm not going to really spoil anything about it. I just think you should pick this up and give it a good read. I'm going to give it a 4. I liked it. Who knows? You might like it. You might hate it. Who cares? I liked it. I give it a 4. Got another annual. Guardians of the Galaxy annual number 1. I love that cover. This was weird. This was really weird. You got Bendis and you got Bendis and Frank Cho. Brian Michael Bendis, Frank Cho. Sold. I love Frank Cho's artwork, but the storytelling, this was weird. You got the Guardians now joined by Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, and they're caught in the middle of a looped replay of the Kree-Skrull War, except this reenactment of the Kree-Skrull War is done with life model decoys of Nick Fury, S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Howling Commandos against the Kree and the Skrulls. And it's like, even Carol and the rest of them are picking up on this. This seems kind of odd. I feel like we're in a rerun. Especially when you see some of the shit that happens to Nick Fury and the rest of the team in this. I know I think I just actually spoiled the book, but the rest of the book, it just came off as very odd, very weird, but that doesn't mean the book was bad. I think the character that shines the most in here is indeed Carol Danvers. But the stuff in here with Rocket and the rest of the team, it was great. I mean, was this perfect? Absolutely not. But you give me Brian Michael Bendis and Frank Cho, I'm going to read this. And I don't regret spending $5 on this. It's just not what I expected from a team like that, you know? It was weird, but not bad. I'll give it a 3.5. Alright, this is something I was personally ready for. The Logan Legacy, number 6. This is the tale of Mystique. James Denine IV writes this. I was waiting for this. I was expecting this to be just as good as issue 2 was. Was it? Not quite. But man, this was a strong read in terms of the writing. There was some action in here, but it was good. This mainly tells a story about Mystique and her longtime girlfriend, Destiny. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Mystique is bisexual, and at one time she had a female lover whom she even says in this book that Destiny was the only person she's ever really loved. So I guess you can say that Destiny was Mystique's true love. And the pain that you see on her face in so many panels in this book, when she goes back and recollects about her time with her girlfriend, it really helps sell the story. It really helps tell it. But also, you know, how she's coping with Wolverine's death and everything, reminiscing about stuff that she used to go through with Wolverine, as well as Destiny. This was a really touching read. It was more focused on Mystique and Destiny than it was actually Wolverine, but for what it was, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a solid read. There was the action that we did get was decent enough for me to like. The writing was superb. I loved it. It was great. A nice read. Still not up to par with issue 2, but a very strong issue of this series. I give it a 4. Alright, moving on to Chris Claremont and Nightcrawler, number 9. Nightcrawler versus the X-Men. And the X-Men are being controlled by the Shadow King. This kind of made it... I kind of felt a little disappointed by this in this issue for one thing. There were moments in here where it seemed like it was way too easy for Kurt to take down the X-Men. There were several moments in this issue where I thought, okay, Nightcrawler's making it look easy that he himself and he himself alone can take down the X-Men. You can make the excuse like, well, they're powered by the Shadow King, and the Shadow King really doesn't know how they fight and how they train and everything like that. I call bullshit on that. I think the Shadow King does know the X-Men more than the writing has led on. It's just there were some parts that's like, okay, that just looked way too simple for him to pull that off. But that doesn't mean it was bad. It does hurt the book a little bit, but I loved how Kurt was able to get through to some of the teams, especially through his teammates, especially Storm. This was good. This was really, really good. Still, like I said, it just kind of seemed like a little bit of plot convenience was involved, especially with protecting Kurt's character in here when dealing with his teammates and everything. But it is what it is, and for what it was, I enjoyed it. I give it a 3.5. Oh, man. I'm ready to talk about this. This is not my pick of the week, but god damn it, I want to talk about this. Spider-Verse Team Up number 2. I don't have number 1, but I have read it, and I thought number 1 was really good. But that's all I'm going to say about that. I want to talk about this. If you follow me on Twitter, you've already known my feelings about this. I am going to treasure this book for one reason. And no, it's not Miles and Ultimate Spider-Man from the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon dealing with the 1960s animated Spider-Man. No, that's not it. Why I'm going to cherish this book is because of the second story involving Spider-Gwen and the Earth she goes to. Now, be warned, I'm going to spoil the hell out of this book, but I need to, and I'm going to explain why. Gwen goes to a world where Peter Parker gave up being Spider-Man and became a goblin after he killed, because in the world she goes to, after Gwen Stacy died, Spider-Man kills the Green Goblin for it. Then he kills Spider-Man by retiring the Spider-Man character and becoming a goblin himself. And I couldn't help but notice something in here. You know, the Green Goblin, he wore purple. He wore purple garb. Peter wears red garb, but I don't know how well the camera will pick it up. What color goblin does Peter look like? Yes, folks. In this book, Peter Parker is a blue goblin. We got a blue goblin in a Spider-Man comic book that is priceless to me. Wow. My favorite comic book character is a blue goblin. Fuck yes! Thank you, Marvel, for that. But with that being said, though, the book itself was pretty good. The first story was hilarious. The second story was good for the dramatic storytelling it gave. But it wasn't really anything truly magical or truly special. This was just a really good book, but not really great. So I'm going to give it a 3, maybe a 3.5. Okay, moving on to Thor, number 3. Jason Aaron. Oh my god, this is good. I'm really getting interested more and more and more in this book. With this issue, we're given a tease in here. We're being teased as to who this new Thor could possibly be. Now, I know there's probably solicitations all over the internet that's probably going to spoil who the new Thor is, but I'm not going to read them, and I don't want anybody to tell me anything, because I want to be surprised. I want to know who this new Thor is, and I want to be genuinely surprised like I would be back in the good old days of comic books when there was no fucking internet to spoil the shit out of these books. But in this issue, we got a tease. We almost get a reveal who it is, but then she gets Mjolnir back and she reverts back to Thor. Now, I already have a guess in mind as to who this new Thor is, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say my guess until the actual reveal comes up. If I'm right, I will say it. I was right. But if I'm wrong, I'll gladly admit I was wrong, and then I will say who I thought it was going to be, and then it ended up not being that person. But in here, this new Thor is tangling with frost giants, and for the beginning of the fight, she's doing it without the hammer. And she actually holds her own against some of these frost giants without the hammer, but when she gets the hammer back, oh, it's on. But then the cliffhanger at the end of the book. Woo! Nice. This was nice. I give it a 4. Alright, this is going to shock you all, but this is my pick of the week. The Uncanny X-Men Annual, #1. Brian Michael Bendis. Andrea Sorrento. I gotta tell you, this completely surprised me by how good it was. This follows Ava Bell, the young X-Man who's able to manipulate time, create time bubbles, and even time jump. Now, if you recall earlier on in this series, there was a training mission where she had, created a time, when she did a time jump, disappeared, and then mystically reappeared. But instead, she disappeared as a teenager, but when she came back, she was a full-grown woman. And nobody knew what the fuck happened to her. And remember, she came back feeling a little emotionally distant, looking, emotionally battered, physically battered and everything. We never knew anything. We never knew what happened. No explanation was given. Here's your explanation. This issue tells you what happened to her when she time jumped during that mission. It tells you where she's been, who she's been with, how many time jumps has she made. We get a cameo from a very familiar team for those of you much older comic book fans. And this also explains why she was so emotionally damaged when she came back. Wow! This was so impressive. I guess it impressed me so much because I didn't have that much of a high expectation for it to be so good. But this was amazing. This was really good. And it was nice. It is so nice to see an X-Men related title, much less the flagship X-Men title. Uncanny X-Men. Focus on a newer character, on a younger character that I think needs to be showcased. And man, this was really good. Now, of course, the story is going to continue in the next all-new X-Men Annual, which I am going to be getting. But man, this completely surprised me. This was 100% better than I thought it was going to be. God damn it, this was good. I was so heavily impressed. Thank you, Marvel, and thank you, Bendis, for this book. Giving it a 4.5. Alright, we're ending this review with X-Men #22. This is the conclusion of Exogenius or whatever. All I can say is this wasn't a bad storyline, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad it's over with because this was starting to this storyline was actually starting to drag a little bit. The good guys win, of course. But there's a humongous moment with Rachel in here. The rest of the stuff was just okay. They're gonna try and take care of Deathbird. Storm survives, but I liked how they saved her. And it's just there was a couple of good moments for Rachel in here, and I thought they were pretty well written. Other than that, this was just alright. I mean, there's really not much else to say about this. And, coming off a great annual from Uncanny X-Men to go to something like this and kind of feel like, this was just alright at best. A little above average. I'll be nice because I'm kind of in a good mood. I'll be nice and give it a 3. Well, that's all I got for this particular review, everybody. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please subscribe to this channel. Don't forget my Blugoblin X channel, where I do Midtown Comic Stashes. Don't forget Jennifer and I. We do Arkham Asylum Studio. We're going to try and find something new to talk about there. And of course, don't forget my bro, one of my best friends, probably the best friend I've never met in real life and never met face to face, Christopher Bennett, aka the TheMtVernonKid. Show him some love. Of course, Deadpoolzilla and Brandon Hex as always. Hex is still killing it with those CMVs. And I'm loving Deadpoolzilla's videos. I know I don't always comment on them, but I am watching them. Follow me on Twitter at Blugoblin01. Look for me on Tumblr, Facebook, Pinterest. Shameless plugs all the way, folks. Thanks again for watching, everybody. And until next time, see y'all later.